Looking to stay informed about South Korea's fast-evolving political, business and cultural landscape? Join us on Korea Pro, the go-to resource for in-depth analysis expertly curated by top-tier professionals. And now you can pick the membership level that best suits your needs, thanks to our new subscription packages. Starting at just $199 annually, you can access daily analysis and our weekly podcast. Or try our premium membership package, which offers additional perks such as executive briefings, monthly reports and forecasts, networking receptions and event opportunities, as well as much, much more. To find the best fit for you, just head to signup.koreapro.org and become a member today.
Hello listeners and welcome to the NK News podcast. I'm your host, Jacco Zwetsloot, and this episode was recorded in the NK News studio on Tuesday, the 25th of February 2025. I'm joined in the studio by Anton Sokolin. Anton, welcome back.
Hey Jacco, been a long time.
It has, and yesterday was the third anniversary of the Russian war on Ukraine, and so we've got some related stories that bring in North Korea to talk about.
Sure, but let's talk about that one a bit later. First, let's start with something closer to the peninsula and actually something from North Korea itself. First off, to just kick off this conversation, I would like to start with a story by Colin Zwerko, a fantastic find about this new drone that North Korea is apparently building.
So it's not ready yet?
Well, we will see soon, but for now, it was spotted in one of the hangars in the Pyongyang air base. It's an air base located north of Pyongyang. It's like northwest of Pyongyang. So this drone is a very interesting one because it's similar to the one that they showed like in 2023, which looks like it's called Setpear 4, so which it translates as
Morning Star or Venus.
Yeah, you can call it like that, but with a larger wingspan. And the original one, the Setpear 4 that they showed, is basically a replica, or it's very closely mimicking the US drone, RQ-4A, Global Hawk. Okay. Yeah, so what Colin noticed is that this particular drone has a larger wingspan, and the increase in the wingspan kind of correlates with the new modification of Global Hawk that the US has made recently. So it was RQ-4A, now it's 4B. And the difference is that the new drone that has a larger payload, so it can carry more stuff, but its range has shrunk a little bit. So its range is now like 800 miles shorter than it used to be.
So a shorter range, but a larger payload.
Yeah.
What kind of payloads do these sorts of drones normally carry? Are we talking bombs?
No, it's a recon drone. So I assume it's supposed to carry all kinds of electronics radars and all kinds of detection electronics devices to carry out these reconnaissance activities. But we're not talking about combat activities, so I don't think it's that.
Okay.
We have seen only a few videos with the previous modification of this drone released by North Korea, and there are not so many details. As far as I understand, these drones are guided by satellites usually, so it requires certain assistance in guiding these drones, because if you know what the Global Hawk looks like, it has like this big kind of bulging
bulbous head,
bulbous head like a dome, and that is where all the electronics is supposed to be, and that's supposed to be hooked up to a satellite that will guide it. Well, we know now that North Korea doesn't have that many satellites. There's only one right now spinning around the Earth, and we are not really sure how it works, but I'm sure with certain assistance of China, commercial satellites in China, for example, or maybe other satellites, or maybe with Russia's help, it's possible to fully deploy it, but we will see. For now, it's a bit of a mystery there.
So to come back to how it's controlled, you say it's controlled by satellite. Is that something that can be jammed or messed with, or is that a secure channel? I mean, I'm just thinking of the drones we see on the battlefield in Ukraine. There's a lot of jamming going on there. I wonder how it is with this particular type of drone.
Right. I suppose this one, I'm not a drone expert, but I think this drone it's a bit of a different category of drones. So those FPV drones that we are seeing, first-person view drones that we see in Ukraine, those are flying relatively low, and they are
and it's often run by somebody on the ground with a remote control.
Remote control or a game controller, right? Usually it's that. Actually, they use those for PS5 or Xbox consoles. So it's a bit of a different weight category, and I suppose it requires more sophisticated controlling mechanism or devices in place rather than just an operator sitting with a gamepad. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So this is probably not that easy to mess with. Then okay. Well done, Colin, on finding that one there. Have we seen the previous North Korean version of this type of drone actually in flight? I know we've seen them in the parades, we've seen them mounted on the back of trucks and on display, but have we actually, are there videos of them flying?
I think, if memory serves, I think there is a video of them flying, but the videos are like promo videos, right? We don't know whether it was guided, it was not guided, whether it was deployed actually. We saw them flying, gliding, of course, over Pyongyang, or during some events, and of course in KCTV, like short clips but they look just like promotional videos. Right. So too soon to tell, probably.
Okay, something to keep an eye out on. Okay, where would you like to go next?
So, since you mentioned that it was the 3rd anniversary of the war in Ukraine,
it just occurred to me it's almost as long as the Korean War, 50 to 53.
Oh wow, right? It's 3 years.
We're getting close.
Getting close. Well, hopefully it won't be as long as the Korean War. So, there is a whole bunch of developments on the Ukrainian front. Ukraine itself marked the 3rd anniversary of the conflict by kicking off several press conferences where several key individuals, like officials in charge of Ukrainian military and foreign policy, spoke. One of them was, for example, the head of Ukrainian military intelligence, Kirill Budanov. And
Budanov, okay. I was wondering how to pronounce that.
Yeah, that's pronounced like that, I suppose.
Yep.
And he spoke about several things, several developments. Essentially, by now, what we know is that about 4,000 North Korean soldiers were killed or wounded.
That is a lot.
4,000.
It's like 1 in 3, right? Or more than 1 in 3.
Yes, it's a 1/3 of the total 12,000 strong contingent, right? Yeah. So, but he said that 8,000 are still pretty much active, and they're expecting some reinforcements soon. They haven't arrived yet, but they're expecting. And but I think the major focus for Ukraine, it's not really about manpower. It's about artillery systems that North Korea transfers to Russia.
Because of these bombardments, not only of military targets, but also of cities and power stations and apartment blocks and things.
Yeah, of course, it's artillery, right? You can use it for a whole variety of purposes, and for them it's a big concern right now. And what he mentioned is that
Mr. Budanov,
yes, he basically confirmed his previous statements that he made in interviews with various outlets that North Korea has transferred about 170 millimeter Koksan self-propelled guns. It's pretty
like a kind of howitzer.
It's a very formidable weapon. It's a howitzer, propelled gun. We stick to this terminology as a self-propelled gun.
Okay.
Because I'm not a military expert, but I hear it from knowledgeable people that there is a certain difference, and I kind of rely on them, so let's try to stick to that. But essentially, as far as I understand, there's not much.
So it's a massive gun on a wheeled vehicle with its own engine that can move around.
Exactly. Yeah. And these Koksan artillery systems, they're very formidable weapons, because what they can do is that they can fire they can sustain very fast pace of fire, and their shells, their ammo can reach a very far distance, so it's like up to 60 kilometers or something. It's really a lot. There is one major problem with the deployment of them is that Russia doesn't have the caliber. 170 millimeter caliber is not really used in Russia. The design of the artillery system is very similar to the Russian Pion system, but the caliber is different.
And you can't use the different caliber in the, they just won't fit in the barrel. Yeah.
No, of course you can't. And so it means that there is also provisions of ammunition as well.
Mm-hmm.
And what Budanov said, when North Korea supplies those systems, it doesn't only send the gun itself, it also sends North Korean personnel that will
do the training.
Yes, first of all to maintain the system.
Yes.
Second, to transfer the knowledge on
Right.
how to use this thing. And now we are seeing reports, different media reports that these Koksan systems, they already reached the front lines. There were several videos purporting to show those Koksans in Donbas, and then we saw a video of how Ukrainian military unit hit one of them
Right,
in
I saw
Donbas,
that.
in the Luhansk region, actually.
Right, which is the occupied territory of Ukraine.
Yes,
Russian-occupied territory of Ukraine.
Yes, it's Donbas. It's not Kursk, so not to confuse.
Right.
It's a totally different direction. Kursk is a bit up north, and Luhansk is down south in Donbas.
Right.
So so we saw videos of how they targeted them. So that was one thing.
Is this the first time we've seen one of these North Korean self-propelled guns being blown up?
Exactly, and actually, it's the first time we've seen it deployed.
Yeah. Okay.
On the theater of war. And the other thing he mentioned is another artillery system. I kind of put them all together as artillery systems, but there's essentially, of course, there's difference between them. I'm talking about multiple launch rocket systems. Essentially, it's a truck with multiple rockets mounted on top of it, and that's what it is.
North Korea has a lot of them.
And they have a lot of them, and apparently they also supplied about 120 of those machines to Russia. We haven't seen them being used yet. That's a bit of a question. We know that they must have reached the front lines by now, because there were multiple videos posted on social media showing something that looked like those systems.
On Russian social media?
Yeah. Because they were delivered by rail, and it's very hard to hide this kind of activity. So at some point, someone will see something, and that kind of leaked to the public domain.
What would be a reason why they're not being used yet?
Or maybe they are being used because they also have a pretty good range. It's also about 60 kilometers, and of course you can hide them pretty much far back.
So we just can't see them.
Well, I don't know.
Right.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
Maybe they are already there. Maybe they haven't started using them. Maybe they're saving them up. I honestly don't know. But that's one of the developments, and it remains a big concern. Of course, when we're talking about these artillery systems, that means that ammunitions are also coming in through. And according to Budanov, 50% of all Russian ammunition needs are covered by North Korea.
Now, this is a claim I saw reported in the media, being widely reported. That's a big claim, right?
Well, it is, but it's at the same time. Let me explain.
Yeah.
It makes it sound a little bit as a stretch, because at the same time he himself said that Russia is ramping up its own domestic indigenous production of munition. So it's very hard, I would say, to gauge the ratio precisely.
Right.
Maybe because when we hear these statements, of course, I always try to remind our listeners, our readers, that we need to treat them with a grain of salt, because it could be also a figure of speech.
Right.
Like, figuratively speaking, half of whatever munitions are covered by North Korea. And we've seen similar claims, for example, by Vladimir Zelensky, who said that Ukraine completely destroyed the entire North Korean contingent in Kursk. Well, we now know that it was only 4,000 people out of 12,000. What he probably meant is just that they destroyed whatever forces that were there. They did destroy them, but they didn't destroy the entire force there. So it's a bit confusing. So these kind of statements are always we should treat them with caution.
But it would be safe to say, or temperate to say, that a large proportion of Russian frontline artillery needs are being met by North Korea.
That's right, and there's more to come. So because Budanov said that North Korea is preparing to send a new batch of actual ballistic missiles, the Kant-23s.
Okay, so this is not artillery.
It's
this
not
is
artillery.
ballistic missiles.
It's ballistic missiles. They have already, according to him, they supplied already about 150, and another batch of 150. Sometimes he gives this figure of 148. I just rounded to 150. Is about to arrive soon. What he noticed, and that was also reported widely in the media, that their accuracy of these missiles has improved since the first time they appeared on the front lines. I think it was either late 2023 or the early, just the beginning of 2024. It was, I think, the first strike was on New Year's actually, so it was around that time. And since then, apparently this missiles have improved a lot. He attributed the improvement to the help of Russian engineers.
Okay, I've got one last question because we don't have a lot of time, but I understand that there was a time there recently when North Koreans were withdrawn from the battlefield. They're back in, and they're doing things a bit differently now.
That's right. Yes, that's a very good question. So what we are hearing from Ukrainian soldiers fighting actually in Kursk is that they have changed. The North Koreans have changed their tactics a little bit. They are adapting, and that was actually kind of predicted by many experts. That give them some time, they're gonna learn, and they're learning. So what the Ukrainians are saying is that North Korean soldiers would before just stand up and walk in large numbers across the snowfields and try to take over the Ukrainian position by sheer numbers.
It's what we call a meat assault.
They call them meat assault. Indeed, they do that, and it's not funny. But now we are seeing that they are operating in smaller units, smaller numbers, kind of replicating what the Russian experience of how things are done. But at the same time, they're still vulnerable to drone attacks, even though they're learning how to tackle them. We've seen those reports on how they do it. They're usually groups of 3. One draws the attention, the 2 are trying to tackle it down. So of course there is that. But still, the vulnerability exists. So Ukrainian forces are spotting that too. But there is definitely some visible improvements. We will see how it factors into the actual situation on the battlefield, whether it's going to help Russia, whether it's going to be to Ukrainian advantage that these forces are learning not so fast as it was thought before. Well, we will see. Maybe they will pick up the speed of their learning and they will apply their know-how somehow to the battlefield. I don't know.
Great answer. Thank you very much for your excellent reporting, Anton, and thanks again for coming on the NK News podcast. See you again soon.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. In the intricate world of Korean affairs, tailored intelligence makes all the difference. Korea Risk Group's consulting services offer specialized, actionable intelligence designed to guide your Korea-related decisions. We provide bespoke consulting services that cater to your unique challenges and goals. From policy analysis to market entry strategies, we bring clarity to complexity. Transform uncertainty into opportunity and visit KoreaPro.com Solutions today. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our podcast episode for today. Our thanks go to Brian Betts and Alana Hill for facilitating this episode, and to our post-recording producer genius Gabby Magnuson, who cuts out all the extraneous noises, awkward silences, bodily functions, and fixes the audio levels. Thank you, and listen again next time.